Okay. Well, you guessed what I said. Very good. So we are here in the business and economic session, and we will look at how to better connect and how to better integrate this region, to look at what is at stake, and to look also on how do we actually get there. As you've seen, I'm your humble moderator. I will try to guide you through 2.5 hours of intense work. Also leave half an hour for the coffee break. Now, maybe some more logistic housekeeping information for the languages. You can follow this in Macedonian, channel 1, Albanian, channel 2, English, channel 3. I also should tell you that I've been instructed by the organizers to call the speakers only by their names and by their surnames. So don't be surprised that I look unpolite. And actually, without any ado, I immediately invite both Fatmir Bitiki and Fatmir Besimi for their opening remarks. Fatmir Bitiki, the floor is yours.
But you used both the name and surname, huh?
Yeah, that's okay.
So sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two Fatmirs.
Okay.
By surname.
Thank you, Mr. Defa, respected panelists, respected guests. Today, really, I'm honored to be the chair in this early morning economic session together with my colleague Fatmir Besimi, the Minister of Finance, and as well to be together with you. It brings me such joy to see what constructive and open dialogue can do. First, it led to PRESPA agreement a couple of years ago, and today it brings us all together in this forum in a stage when we are trying to recover after pandemics. I think that this is the power of openness and mutual respect. It can only bring prospect and mutual growth. And this is what we are all going to talk about today, the future of our region. Western Balkan region can be seen as a set of several countries, different ones. Someone says 6, someone says 8, or even 10. But I usually want to say that it can be seen as one as well, with a common history, similar economic structure, and similar problems. Coronavirus has showed that there are no borders. Immigration actually does not stop in the Balkans or on the EU borders. Amazon actually threats traditional shops, not only in Ljubljana, but as well it threats all of us in Zagreb, Sarajevo, Pristina, Belgrade, Tirana, and as well in Skopje. And as well, air pollution does not stop at the cross-border points. It's all around. As we are entering the post-COVID period of recovery, we have a unique chance to build back better and together. So let's put our efforts into, as I say, regional competitiveness instead of regional competition. As we work towards common regional market, a stepping stone towards EU single market that will strengthen our economic integration. Lastly, at the board meeting of Western Balkan 6 Chamber Investment Forum, I took the initiative for creating a unique foreign direct investment subsidy program for Western Balkan 6, but as well creating strong regional value chain which will enhance our competitiveness far more than any of us can do it individually. The need for nearshoring is a lesson learned from the past pandemic year, when the far away Asian supply chain has been said that is hardly accessible. Lastly, as a government, in the newly adopted intervention investment plan, we have foreseen a budget of more than 2.7 billion euro for building new roads, reconstruction of the present ones, and modernizing the railway infrastructure. Completing of pan-European corridor is one of the top priorities of our country. This, together with the green corridors, is essential in achieving the goals of the common regional market. Individually, we are small countries with great aspirations, but together we are a great region with even greater prosperity. Togetherness is a key to greatness, they say. And I don't want this today to be just a one-way conversation, but an open dialogue so we can exchange vision and inspirations, because this today is not just about Fatmir from North Macedonia. It's as well for Dusan from Serbia, Arben from Albania, Sofia from Montenegro, Rozafa from Kosovo, and Yanis, or anybody else from Greece, Bulgaria. It's for all of 18 million people of our region. So we should talk and create our future together, and I'm looking forward for a fruitful discussion. I strongly believe that regional competitiveness will strengthen the resilience of the region, will bring prosperity for our citizens. By creating a stronger labor market, will bring prosperity and future for the economies, and at the same time, it will prepare them for entering the challenging big EU market and the global market. Today, I am really looking forward for the next speakers. As I said at the beginning, before we start, I do have some expectation, and it was a good expectation, but as we have two chairs, both of us bearing the same name, and I don't know if you know actually the meaning of the name Fatmir, it's a good luck. So you have good luck square. So I think this is a good start for the session. Thank you to you.
I would note, if I may, Mr. Minister, that all those people you named are actually from Chicago.
Thank you very much, Fatmir Bitiki. Good luck to Fatmir Bezimi now for his part.
Thank you, Defa. Good morning, everyone. I'm really pleased to see this conference starting, de facto starting in the morning with this panel and one parallel one in the other rooms, but in afternoon the official part. But what I would like to say, and I guess it's the same in the States and in Germany and other countries, you can recognize the day from the morning. If it's sun, maybe the day will go, which we cannot say it's assured in these climate changes, but still it's a good saying. And this day I see it started to very good conversation, very ambitious, from expectations to ambitions, and we have very positive thinking since the beginning. And I see many friends here from the region, and also I know them personally, so I'm very pleased to see all of them here together. In Ohrid, we used to say the city, the pearl in the Balkans, because of the UNESCO city, the lake, and the tourism, the heritage, cultural heritage. So talking about the topic of this conference, how to get connected the region and integrate it. Actually, if we look back in the history and look forward what we can achieve, we can really be very clear about that, what this region has been and what is always it has benefited when there has been this cooperation in the region for different purposes, but mainly for trade and cultural exchange. We have benefited the most. And what my dear colleague and friend Fatmir also mentioned about the importance of this cooperation and where we want to be in the future, I want also to add on this that to add on complement what Fatmir was saying about the COVID. Let's put it like this, the COVID, the positive side of the COVID is that it hit our conscious, our collective conscious. What are the challenges that we face? Those challenges are not anymore only national. Those challenges are global. And we can start from our countries, from our neighbors, and the region, and then globally. So if we see the challenges, it's important how we respond to these challenges. And the response definitely is not national. It must be global. Why we were successful in a very short period of time to get, I might say, although there were some delays, but in a year time we responded effectively in relative terms again to COVID. And it was because all international community was collaborating, were exchanging information, and even in policies that we are taking, we are helping each other. We are learning from each other. So this is the strength of togetherness. And this is what we are looking forward from this conference, learning, exchanging views, and looking beyond the challenges we face today, looking for tomorrow, looking at the opportunities. So there are many opportunities in the region, working together and coordinating our activities. So the point is how we get there. Maybe we know where we want to go. But how do we get there? And one is these kind of initiatives, enhancing cooperation. The second is the infrastructure and all policies that means free movements. Europe has done several initiatives for the region. The United States has supported many of them. We have Ms. Brego representing one of these initiatives in the region. So this is where we want to go and how we can get there. But we agreed, Sudefa, that 4 minutes are for this beginning address. So I'm reaching these 4 minutes. I would like to say that we'll have discussions maybe during the panel, questions and answers, but because this is a long journey, the challenges are big enough. So to go, and I will end up with that saying, maybe you can go fast if you are alone, but if you are together, you can go far longer way. So this is what this challenge is now. This is a big challenge. It's not a short-term run. This is a long-term run and very ambitious agenda where we can, what we aim. And maybe we will achieve this if we work together. So thank you for this initial address, and maybe later on we come back again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fatmir Besimi, and the plea for this long journey together. After these openings, let's now turn to the key speech, setting the scene for the deliberations of our session. And I don't have to introduce anybody. Everybody knows him. It's a great privilege to welcome Matthew Palmer here. So the floor is yours.
Thanks very much. Thanks to you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you to the organizers of this year's PRESPA Forum. It was the first of what I anticipate will be an annual event and one of the real, I expect, highlights of the conference season. I do want to begin by acknowledging the region's tremendous work on building connections and deepening integration during what has been an immensely difficult year for all of us. Green lanes, the endorsement of the Common Regional Market Action Plan, and the Green Agenda for the Western Balkans, progress on 5G security and digital standards, and implementation of the Roam Like Home initiative. I'm especially pleased to be here to contribute to this forum today alongside some of the people who made all of this possible. But there remains a lot of work to do to fully realize this region's enormous potential Leaders must make more than a public commitment to economic growth and regional cooperation. They must take real actions. They must press ahead with difficult reforms. They must work constructively to resolve difficult political issues internally and with neighbors, to strengthen their multi-ethnic democracies and judiciaries, and to move towards a more prosperous, integrated future. This is a point made repeatedly in the Commission's Economic and Investment Plan for the Western Balkans. The United States applauds the European Commission's recent announcement of an agreement on pre-accession assistance, which will finance much of that economic and investment plan. I'll echo here what German Foreign Minister Maas recently said. It is critical that the EU stand by its commitments to the region. This includes advancing accession negotiations with North Macedonia and Albania and delivering visa liberalization for Kosovo. We're disappointed that the issue of IGCs for North Macedonia and Albania was not resolved, despite the Portuguese presidencies and like-minded European partners' strong advocacy and the reasonable solutions that were put forward. Because frankly, this affects our bottom line too. These delays have weakened our collective US-EU influence and the ability to advance shared goals in the region, including not just normalization of relations between Serbia and Kosovo and constitutional and EU-related reforms in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but broader regional interests as well. As I said, there's a lot of work to do. Moreover, as our geopolitical competitors aggressively seek to undermine US-EU credibility, and the region itself doubts the integrity of our collective commitments, the stakes continue to grow. I've seen repeated criticisms of the US role over the years. Some pundits say the United States is too heavy-handed and engaged, while others say we're not engaged enough, and that means usually that we've gotten the balance about right. The fact is that the United States has been consistent in pursuing its overarching goals. Our long-standing vision for the region is a region at peace with itself, at peace with its neighbors, stable, prosperous, and integrated into the European and Euro-Atlantic framework. What gives me hope is that this is not just the US vision for the Western Balkans, but it is nearly indistinguishable from what our European allies and partners also want. Even more important is that this vision is the vision explicitly articulated by the countries of the Western Balkans themselves. This common vision is our collective strength and should serve as our guide as we redouble efforts to bring the Western Balkans closer to the European Union. We must not lose sight of this goal, or we risk failing in the decades-long endeavor to complete a Europe whole, free, and at peace as part of a strong transatlantic family. Yet, despite our common vision, and as important as our individual roles may be, we need to challenge ourselves to make the Western Balkans much more of a driver in rather than an object of transatlantic cooperation. So how do we get there? How do we facilitate and indeed impel regional integration and increase connectedness? In no particular order, I'd like to suggest the following. The region's leaders must take firm ownership of their European future and generate the internal pressure needed to not only achieve collective progress in the near term, but actively reverse the slide into transnational or hybrid regime territory. Otherwise, regional economic cooperation and sustainable long-term economic recovery will remain perpetually out of reach. As part of this, the leaders of the region must create and seize opportunities now to resolve through dialogue and compromise differences that hold back their countries and peoples from achieving their full potential. Unless it is inclusive, these can only remain half measures. To this end, the United States has urged Kosovo to approach its neighbors with a positive spirit and urged Kosovo's neighbors to engage Kosovo in the same way. With equal importance, the United States has urged Serbia to make a political commitment to the entire region's economic development. Leaving out Kosovo handicaps the whole region, while a rising tide can lift all boats. This means Belgrade engaging with Pristina on real and substantive issues vital to inclusive regional economic integration and growth. The EU-facilitated dialogue, which enjoys the unequivocal support of the United States, is the primary political framework for resolving differences between Kosovo and Serbia. But nothing in the dialogue should prevent pragmatic, depoliticized solutions between and amongst reasonable interlocutors. Deeper business connections that will thrive on the four freedoms can produce more of what the people of the region demand: jobs and economic security. which will help to overcome the zero-sum mentality that too often holds the region back. It is for these reasons that the United States believes efforts towards establishing a common regional market are important steps on the path towards EU membership. All the countries of the region must work together to realize these goals and bring their perspectives and their collective strengths to this project. Agreements such as on ID-only travel and on mutual recognition of academic and professional qualifications will build transparency, trust, and rapid opportunities for commerce. I urge all parties to take these agreements seriously, to see them as stepping stones towards greater alignment with the EU, easing their European integration while energizing their societies and giving their entrepreneurs the tools to do what they do best. Similarly, Balkan countries must reform their energy sectors. Diversified sources and clean technologies will not only bring positive economic benefits, but will also bolster domestic and regional energy security while helping the region simultaneously meet its climate commitments. The tangible benefits of cooperation are even more compelling in a region where, despite admirable GDP growth, citizens are most concerned about the economy and jobs, and where they're voting with their feet. The last decade has seen the region lose a substantial number of highly skilled workers to jobs elsewhere, some of which they may even be overqualified for. But they're in places where corruption and state capture do not threaten their children's future. Next to the economy, the region's citizens are most concerned about the rule of law and corruption. You will know that on June 3rd, President Biden declared countering corruption a core United States national security interest. Countering corruption is fundamentally about preserving and strengthening democracy. When political leaders steal from their country's citizens or flout the rule of law and an independent judiciary, economic growth slows, inequality widens, equitable access to services is undercut, markets are distorted, and trust in government plummets. Reforms, therefore, must not be designed just to revive the post-COVID economy. They must also be about strengthening democratic institutions to make them more independent, more transparent, and more accountable. In conclusion, and a mentor of mine once taught me to always say in conclusion, as it gives your audience hope, I'd like to note Macedonia's historic PRESPA agreement with Greece and its agreement for good neighborly relations with Bulgaria as model examples of seeking greater regional engagement for the benefit of all citizens. The government of North Macedonia is focused on implementing the necessary economic and political reforms at home to attract high-quality investors from abroad. It plays an active and productive role in regional economic initiatives because it knows that a market of 18 million can be far more attractive than a market of 2 million. It will use its strong partnership with Greece to secure its energy security and use connections with its neighbors to help guarantee theirs. We're on the cusp of great things in this region. I'm excited to be here with you today, and I'm excited to see what the years ahead hold in store. Thank you for the opportunity, thank you for your attention, and thank you, Mr. Moderator, for organizing the panel.
Thank you very much, Matthew Palmer, for this broad coverage of setting the scene. And the applause has told it all. Now we come to the podium, to the speakers here on the podium. Before giving you the floor, just one remark on timing. We have a time constraint. We should leave, and I think that's also a very important time for interaction and discussion. And then we also have the coffee break. Not only for refreshment, but also, and I think this is very important, for personal exchange. And that's something we have been missing so much in the last COVID times. So by the organizers, you have allocated 4 minutes. So please respect this. And it's football times, right? And in order to increase compliance, I've prepared a yellow card and a red card.
Wait, does that mean you get thrown off the panel?
No, this is just preventive. This is just preventive. So, okay? So once you approach the 4 minutes, you might see this, and beyond you see this.
That's why it's pink, it's not red.
Yeah?
It's pink.
Well, that's the only thing that I got in the shop. I didn't go to the UEFA shop, so...
So if you get the pink one, you're not allowed to participate on the next panel? Is that correct?
No way out. Okay. Jokes aside, I now have the pleasure to invite Melinda Regu, and you are the person that symbolizes the regional common market. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Walter. Thank you for inviting dear participants, dear FATMIers, to both of you. First and foremost, happy 1st of July. From today, we'll celebrate the free roaming agreement in the region. And modesty aside, I think that we should all take pride and be happy that we all made this story happen. We facilitated and eliminated barriers, borders, tariffs of mobile telephony in the region, and we are looking forward to do the same with the freedom of movement of people, goods as well, and to continue whenever, and even that this is not going to be an easy path forward, but to continue whenever is possible to have a deeper economic integration in the region. Happy 1st of July to Greece. We'll be chairing by today the Southeast Cooperation Process for a full year. Definitely happy 1st of July to Slovenia, who will start chairing the EU. So I think a lot of events to celebrate. Now, before that pink cartoon comes into my face, let me just try to, let's say, resume a bit my sayings for today. What do we see in the Western Balkans happening today, or the necessity that the region has? I would put those in three main lines. First, accelerating growth. Second, greening that growth. And third, membership to EU value chains. I know that you are about to think membership to EU, but that goes without saying. I don't want to repeat it anymore now in North Macedonia, especially for at least some days, because I know how your feelings are on that regard. Given these three main items, you know that the region, as everywhere in the world, has suffered a lot from last year's pandemic. I'm not going to repeat figures in here. You can read, all of you, the reports. But I think that we have a very good instrument and tool that rightly Matt mentioned, which is common regional market. The common regional market, as I keep saying, it's not a law of nature, but it's the common endeavor of all the leaders of this region, citizens, business community, who supported the idea of building up an action plan to have one common regional market in the region, same model as the EU single market. Again, the common regional market is based on those famous four freedoms that are part or the same model of the EU single market, and it's enlarged with the digital agenda, which is quite important, with the industrial one, and then continuing with other pillars that are quite important as well to be part of the common regional market on the investment and so on. But business community, as reported in the latest Balkan Barometer, they report that they have been selling only domestically during the last years, which is not strange given that our economies are dominated by micro and small enterprises. Only 7% of small and medium enterprises reported exported to the Western Balkans, while only 6% of them said that they are exporting in EU and 1% elsewhere. So keeping in mind that the EU is the biggest trade and investment partner of the Western Balkan 6, and the economies heavily depend on the EU economy, Value and supply chains should be reestablished and investments acquire strategic thought on the value chains. There is, let's say, enough money leveraging IPA 3 coming into the region, or the Economic Investment Plan. But we all know that that will never be enough. We've been reading and making calculations these days only for the broadband, while the whole investment of IPA that will hopefully start by the end of the year will be 500 million euros. Only in the investment on broadband for Albania is 600 million euros. So money will never be enough to have real connectivity and like to accelerate the growth in the region. I mentioned green economy. We are proud that by last year as well, RCC is coordinating not only the common regional market, but green agenda in the Western Balkans. Again, when it comes to the green agenda in the region, this is not going to be an easy goal. The Western Balkans power system predominantly relies on lignite units, where 90% are older than 30 years and 40% are even older than 40 years. The 16 thermal power plants in the Western Balkans produce more hazardous emissions than 250 coal power plants on the territory of the European Union. And it is now clear how the countries will need to finance a lot on the social, environmental and energy costs of closing those coal mines, but it is not clear where we are going to find that money to do that. And this is the heart of the decarbonization efforts. Based on the calculations, investment in the case of lignite exit through 2050 amount to around 38-40 billion euros for Western Balkans. Said that, now again, I need to mention why it's quite important, the Europeanization of the value chains. I see the red card.
No,
it's yellow, sorry.
It's yellow.
Okay, then it's better. Sometimes it's better when you have problems with eyes because you don't recognize the colors. So the Europeanization of the value chains is of crucial importance for the Western Balkans economies by reason of geographical proximity, based on the existing structures of our economies and ongoing EU accession and alignment processes. So, said that, I do hope that we'll not only have the political leadership quite keen and respectful to the commitments that they themselves endorse, but as well, I hope that we will as well have not only the support, let's say, the one that is quite generous coming from the EU in terms of grants, but first and furthermore, we need to change our structural economies in order to have some more, let's say, good loans, and as well to direct those in those areas that are quite important, digital mostly and foremost for the moment. Thank you. No pink card?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And this is compliance and enjoyment. So, and it was enjoyable to listen to you and this balance of achievements, but all the big challenges in front of us for this regional common market. We now come to more something like the business perspective, and to see what are the attitudes, what are the expectations of the business community. And it's my pleasure to ask Anthony Peshev, who has a double role. He's now going to intervene, but he will also be the rapporteur for all the session. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. First, also, I would like to thank organizers for opportunity to be part of this panel. By my opinion, one of the most important panels, because without economy, all other political initiatives are not going to be valuable and is going to be without reason. You know, in general, the economy is the only reason why the governments do exist, because this is the motor of existence of every single country. Our region is covered with a lot of prejudice, And today I prepared a short speech which I called Dare to Dream. Dare to dream because dreams are going to guide you to the changes. Dare to change because changes are going to guide you to the great actions. Dare to act and create because only the action may change the world. History is going to remember those who were acting and creating. Nobody will remember those who opposed and tried to stop the actions and destroy creations. Prespa Agreement is synonymous for this great philosophy. Those who were brave to step into unknown territory, to dream, to change, to act, gave us a reason to gather today and talk about the future of the region. When in 2014, EU Commission, headed by Mr. Jean-Claude Juncker, announced 5 years moratorium of further enlargement of EU, countries of the regions were under the cold shower. This was a situation in which all their hopes for the fast Europe integration were destroyed without logical explanation and without any visible alternative to this process. And when there was a complete desperation about this process, Frau Merkel appeared with something which today we know all as a Berlin process, initiative which path a completely new approach to this very sensitive issue. This proposal was simple and clear. Countries of the region should try to build their relations in the way as if they are part of the European Union. The message was clear: build the region without borders, build the region as the global economic territory, start to live in the manner different from the old Balkan way. I'm proud that the economical chambers of the region responded immediately, and in a period shorter than 1 year, the West Balkan Sixth Chamber Investment Forum was established by the major chambers organizations from Albania, Bosnia, Kosovo, Montenegro, North Macedonia, and Serbia. This was a logical and easy step for chambers, believe me, from the region, because we have already very good relations between us. And whenever the political problems appeared on the borders, only chambers have the open phones between each other. During all those years, this organization, this regional chamber umbrella, not only managed to survive, but it also contributed to the faster development and integration of the region. It built strong links between the business operators and tried to build foundation for the integrated economic space, territory without borders, customs, and non-tariff barriers. The results are visible and measurable. In the period 2014-2020, regional GDP growth 28%, from 77 billion euros in 2014 to 101 billion euros in 2019. Total value of the foreign direct investment in the region reached the level of 35 billion euros. GDP per capita reached the level of 5,600 euros, which is growth of a significant 31%, but still much lower than the average level of European Union, of European 27 countries. So, I can further illustrate the benefits of regional economic cooperation, but I saw the yellow signal there. And I'm encouraging you to visit the website of this organization, where you're going to find very analytical data of all these aspects. I hope that the governments and political authorities are going to recognize the importance of the regional cooperation and follow the steps toward the political unification of the region, converting it to the region without borders, open political issues, without conflicts and tensions of any kind. This is the only way which will show that the de facto geographical part of the Europe is going to become a real part of the European Union, which is a real desire for all these countries for more than 3 decades. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we follow on with Nebir Hoxha.
Hello, everybody. I will continue in English. It's a pleasure to be part of this conference. And the fact that the first panel starts with economy, it shows that the economy is the crucial part of all our life and generally the situation in the region. To have a better economy, for sure, is very important to break down all the barriers between our countries. We are small countries, but in fact, we are so far between each other. Why I say this? Because between our capitals, for instance, Skopje to Tirana, we have only 159 kilometers difference. We need 5-hour driving. Skopje, Pristina as well is less than 80 kilometers. We need now between our cities or more or less about 2 hours, considering the part that Kosovo already finished their highway till our border, and we still need for many years to build highway between our cities. This is the sickness of our mentality, because we need to be synchronized between all our institutions and our governments, because in one side they build the highway and in the other side we still have ways that are not in the same level. To have a better business conditions as well, we need also to change a lot of things in our countries, because we need to start working against organized crime. Cooperating between our countries also is very important, and for that reason the citizens of our countries need to have better conditions for life, just to stay in our country and don't emigrate in North and Europe. As well as I mentioned, the other things that we need for better economic and stability is macroeconomic stability in our country, skills, professional education, and the one important thing that we have a summit a few days ago in Kosovo is the importance of the professional education people that we need in our private sector. In our country, we have unemployment around 17%. In Kosovo, is more than 26%. But in the other side, business need and miss the skilled people for their companies. So we need to have big reforms in our institutions, to have better educational systems comparing the needs of the business. Also, for better cooperation between our countries in Western Balkans, we need to harmonize the custom rates and tariffs between all the countries in the region. Cooperation also in scientific and technical level between our countries is as well important. And these agreements that would systematically regulate norms of cooperation and trade between our countries. I saw the Apple badge in Vice Premier jacket, and he reminded me that we as a country, and especially the region of Prespa, is very famous for apples. And as well, why we as a countries don't be complementary. As I said, we are small countries, to be together, to share our products, and in this case, to change this product with US Apple, and to have better economy and compensation of our goods in the market. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for these two business views, very important. And there is a bit of an uncertainty whether Mrs. Rizvanuli will nevertheless be able to join us. Okay, I think we might take her if she will come in the second part. She is here. So, thank you so much for coming. Just take a seat, please. And welcome, Mrs. Atana Rizvanoli. You have 4 minutes, and we have a bit of a football regime, so in order not to waste any time, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to apologize for this uncertainty. I'm sorry, I was not, I had a different agenda, and I thought that I would be in the second panel, but I just realized that I'm actually in the first panel while I had to attend another panel in the meantime. So I was called running. Anyway, I apologize for this. Dear ministers, political leaders, civil society representatives, distinguished guests, it is a great pleasure for me to be here today in the Prespa Forum Dialogue representing Republic of Kosovo. I would like to start by thanking the North Macedonian government, particularly the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Bujar Osmani, for bringing us all together to discuss such important topics regarding regional economic and political cooperation. This forum is being held at what we can hopefully call the verge of the post-pandemic era, which was the greatest global health crisis and economic challenge we have faced since World War II. And this period has not only shed light on the existing inequalities that we have among countries, but also among individuals with different socioeconomic backgrounds, but also among men and women and among countries as a whole. It has made us think also about the impact that we have on our planet, and it has had a few positive impacts like reducing CO2 emissions and overconsumption in general. And for many businesses, on the other hand, it has also had a positive impact in that it has provided the impetus for adaptation and innovation, particularly through digitalization. We have definitely seen this in many sectors in Kosovo, whereby traditional sectors have made greater efforts to digitalize and to be able to provide services, better quality services at the time of a pandemic online. The pandemic has also opened new perspectives for the regions in terms of nearshoring opportunities as European firms look to build more diverse and resilient supply chains. And being a small region with merely 18 million people and a combined GDP that is less than 40% of Poland's, enhancing regional cooperation and integration will no doubt help reap these benefits among other benefits. However, regional economic cooperation and integration is not the holy grail that will address all our political and economic challenges in the region. A recent study by Vienna Institute, which has looked into how the region can reap the benefits of such opportunities of nearshoring, has suggested that skilled labor investment in human capital and improving infrastructure and governance would be the most important factors in being able to make sure that we use such opportunities. In this context, I would say that skilled labor and governance are major weaknesses in our countries across the region. And one indicator for this is the emigration that we've had of young, and particularly young skilled labor, which in a recent forum here in Skopje has been actually termed exodus of young skilled individuals. And we have actually researched the reason for this in Kosovo, and I think they hold across the region. The reasons for this emigration extend well beyond economic reasons, and they have to do with quality of life, with healthcare services, education, rule of law, equal treatment by institutions, to name but a few. I think that is a clear message for us policymakers across the region, but also beyond, that economic development and economic integration alone is not sufficient. And without addressing these other issues, we are actually also undermining economic development and integration itself. We can promote labor mobility, we can recognize each other's qualifications and remove work permits. However, these initiatives will not reach their full potential if our youth don't want to stay at home or in the region, but they are seeking the EU. Similarly, in the absence of rule of law, legal certainty, and a corruption-free business environment, initiatives improving capital mobility will not reach their full potential. Across the region, we need democratization, rule of law, anti-corruption, governmental accountability, freedom of media, because only this way we can unleash the economic potential of our countries and improve the lives of our citizens. But also, we must keep in mind that economic cooperation and integration itself does not happen automatically, and it does not happen in a vacuum. We are a small region, but a war-torn one just 20, 30 years ago. And in order for genuine cooperation and integration, we must address the prejudices that we have among each other. And for this, communication among our citizens is key. This can only happen if we face the past and hold responsible those who are responsible for the dark side of our recent history, so that we free ourselves, our citizens, from assigning collective guilt and responsibility to whole nations. Ironically, it is precisely these joint political and socio-economic challenges that tend to make us overcome our differences and realize our similarities, in my personal experience. And there are particularly two factors that I would say make me optimistic about the future of our countries individually, but also of our region. And that is our youth, which tends to be higher educated, more open-minded, and with the communication tools at hand to be able to communicate better and to get to know each other better, and to actually make the cooperation and integration that we want work together. And the other one, particularly for Kosovo, I would say, is our diaspora. But I think this, to various extents, also applies to other countries in the region. We have strong diasporas, again, many of them well-educated, with capital, who are willing to invest at home, especially if they have trust in government and if they see that economic conditions for all investors are improving, because diaspora investors are, at the end of the day, also foreign direct investors, and they are seeking the same opportunities, and they have the same objectives and are looking for the same conditions. And I think if we manage to create these political and economic preconditions, and if we can make best use of our youth, educate them, and make sure that we create the opportunities for them to remain at home rather than seek employment abroad, but also to attract diaspora investment, then I think these can be two factors which can greatly affect our economic development individually and jointly as a region. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thanks also for the two focuses on youth and diaspora. So this brings us actually to the end of the individual interventions. So thanks again for all the interventions, and thanks also for your understanding of the time constraints. So I think now it's time for some interaction, and I will start this with another big thank you. And this is to express our big gratitude to the platinum partners of this Prespa Forum dialogue. So thank you for your most valuable support. And I will mention in name Max Still, Ecolog, Braco, and tough. We are happy to have representatives here, and you are invited if somebody wants to give a reaction to the panel.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Mr. Defa. Thank you, all panelists. Thank you for the invitation and for the possibility to hear, for the possibility to present the ideas of the business sector. I think that I'm speaking for all the business sector of the region when I say that infrastructure is a dire need for all the economies of the region. A lot of discussions have been done saying that we are going towards a common market, but it's very difficult to have a common market when we don't have infrastructure that will support the free flow of ideas, of goods, of people, which is one of the basis of the basic pillars of the foundations of the European Union. So I think infrastructure is something that is very important for all of us. And it's not important how it's done if the countries are doing it themselves, which not always works, as we know. If it's done through some European funds, if it's done through some private companies with concessions, but infrastructures is very important. The Corridor 8 is almost non-existent in Albania and North Macedonia. There is a part in Bulgaria that's working, but that's it. And I'm not speaking about roads, highways, but also railways, which is also something that we are probably in the 19th century by the level of availability of rail transport in the region. So I think that we must push this agenda forward to the European Union, to all the partners of the region, to all the allies that we have, so that this is done as soon as possible. Because as Mrs. Bregu said, that we have free roaming, but nobody will take 5 hours to go to Tirana from Skopje so that he can use the free roaming there. Another thing that I think that is important for the region is the sense of let's say, participation in the EU economically, because we are often, let's say, left aside as any other country anywhere in the world, although we're, if not in the EU, we're next door neighbors. Some of the safeguard measures that were imposed in the past several years have in some way hit us, and in this, I would say, a clash of titans, we are collateral damage because we are treated as any other country. And I'm afraid that this decarbonization that is forthcoming will also have a big impact if the EU doesn't treat us as let's say, close neighbors or let's say, allies in this process of decarbonization. The forthcoming carbon border adjustment mechanism will also affect the economies of the region, and if we are left on ourselves, this may be a big economic burden, and for somebody even it would mean closing the activities, which is something I don't think that anybody wants. Thank you. This would be my intervention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, one more, but then we should go on.
Very short.
Okay, from Ecolog, right? So,
Yes,
okay.
yes. In two roles, Ecolog as a platinum sponsor, but also as a rector of Southeast Europe University. I just want to thank all the panelists and their discussion, but just to underline a very important issue that was mentioned from our colleagues as infrastructure needs, I will add as a superstructure needs. So education, culture, and human capital, it's needed a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this clear plea. And we have still some... Sorry, Okay, sorry, did not see you.
It's very dark.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Miloš Prica, Ambassador at Large from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Just very quickly, regarding the infrastructure, regarding the upswing in our economies, all the measures that we have heard that are in preparation and also taking place at the moment are very positive and moving us toward the right direction. There is no doubt about that. But frankly speaking, without massive investment by the EU into the infrastructure in our countries, you can look at just IPA 3 with 14.1 billion or 14.3 billion euros for the period from 1st of January this year till 2027. When you just divide, Turkey is also included in this. When you divide to the years, when you divide to the countries, it's not something that will make a really decisive change on the ground. We need a real Marshall Plan regarding that. Just to remind everyone here that that was for many years, ECB, European Central Bank, for several years, every month printed 80 billion euros, which is so-called quantitative easing. 80 billion euros per month. We need much more to really move forward fastly regarding the infrastructure, but also what we heard from others here for upgrading our other services like education, like healthcare and other things. That means that these things that are now we are having as recipients of this assistance, we very much appreciate that. It's very nice, but that is not going to make any significant upswing to our states, and our brain drain will continue indefinitely. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this position, and I turn back to the panel. So this is a moment where you might want to react to what you heard from the audience, and also maybe challenge positions taken, support, compliment, etc. Who wants to go ahead?
Challenge the necessity for more investments. Nobody. I was just thinking, who can challenge the necessity for more investments? Yes. I don't think that any of us would really dare to say that.
So, Fatmir Besin.
Thank you very much. I want to thank also for the intervention made by the participants. Yes, infrastructure. Yes, we need all structural reforms. Yes, we have the initiatives. But we also need, in this kind of conference, just to put point, the leadership and commitment and the credibility of all these reforms. Actually, after we leave this conference, a day after we go to our offices, we need to follow up on this and to coordinate these policies. And just I will add on this that there are several initiatives and funds that we need for the region. We need to work after these projects to get done, like the roaming that have been discussed for several years, and now today we have this operational. We need this infrastructure, but human capital, on the other side, we need to make sure that these policies, joint policies of cooperation, work real in practice. And take the opportunity, while this is a conference of cooperation with the PRESPA forum reflecting this, the initiative, the need, we also have to reflect back on Brussels, to our colleagues and friends in Brussels, that the delay in the process has a cost. Yeah. And this has a cost on commitment, on the credibility of the process, even in financing. When we talk about finances, we are less stable, less sustainable. So, and the private sector legitimately looks at the figures, because at the end of the day, they are on their own in terms of their own business, and they take all the challenges. So, without taking further, because of the time we will have later, I just want to say this, that yes, we are doing our part, but we should be together. And togetherness means that all players and partners work together, as I said earlier. And please also the suggestion for all colleagues in EU. I know that they are later on the panels, but also we should have here. I know Ms. Brego represents the regional initiative, but we have to have our friends from Europe as well.
Thank you. Now a friend from the US, Matthew Palmer.
Thanks very much. You know, investment's a great thing. Everybody likes that. It's good, it's useful, it's constructive. But it can also focus on investment, and the desire for investment can be a way for leaders to absolve themselves of responsibility as well. The idea that salvation somehow needs to come from the outside. And I can't count the number of times that leaders across the Western Balkans have said to me, you, Matt, you, the United States, deliver for us, please, investments by American business, as though American business is responsive to orders from the United States government, which is not the way this works. And what I regularly and consistently tell folks here is, take responsibility for your own futures, take responsibility for your own destiny, take the actions in those areas that you can control. Transparency, good governance, a strong judiciary, accountability. The money will come. There is money sloshing around the international system looking for places that it can go and invest and make a reasonable return. And it is up to the countries of the Western Balkans, it's up to the leaders of the Western Balkans to create climates that are conducive to that kind of international investment. And when that is secured, the money will follow. It's got to be cart before the horse. Excuse me, horse before the cart.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Fatmir Bitiki.
No, actually, I needed to talk before you. Because what we actually heard is that, we probably, all of us, we raise several things, but most of them are effects, they are not causes. We are talking on poor infrastructure, and that's the effect of not doing it for 30 years. We are talking on fighting corruption, because for 30 years no one actually fighted the corruption, and obviously that's the cause of the problems. We are talking on being open, having good governance, transparent, accountability, and that's because actually that happened before. And I think that today we have to raise the issue. What we have to do, or to take in stay, as a decision makers, in order to address all the causes, because everything else will come afterwards. And I do not fully agree when we approach towards the Europeans or others, please bring us funds, because we have to do our homework here. We have to fight really the corruption. We have to show that we are able, for good governance, being transparent, accountable, creating the system, creating the policies, and afterwards the funding will be used in a more efficient and effective way. And actually for 30 years, Western Balkan has suffered on using in less efficient and effective way the resources that were actually pledged in Western Balkan 6. I usually want to say, starting from the domestic resources. In our country, in last 30 years, annual budget can be counted with billions, more than 100 billion. At the end of the day, we are still talking of a road not built of 100 million. That's only 1% of the budget that we have had for 30 years. And that's not because we didn't have the resources, but probably they went somewhere else. And it is about us today to do our homework and actually create the space that platinum sponsors will be safer and trustful about what we do in order to invest. And then, probably tomorrow, we might speak easier if we have actually overcome all these causes that are jeopardizing our future.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A very short one, and then we are set. Yeah. First, applause for the last two.
Just to tell a joke about the role of the infrastructure in the economy, after building the highway between Pristina and Tirana, the citizens in Kosovo that wanted to sell a house, they say, I sell a house in Prizren that is 1.5 hours from the sea. So the role of the highway is really very important. And we hope that we'll have some understanding from the EU, and the money is printed there to be dedicated to this very important and crucial investment in the region. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. This brings... Of course, I can't say no to the lady. Sorry, I didn't see you, so you were so close.
No problem. Thank you. I'll keep it brief. I should have spoken before some of you too, and I'd just like to reiterate the limited absorptive capacities, and that is both due to inefficient civil service, due to corruption, lack of rule of law, and various reasons. On the other hand, I cannot really say that we don't need more support. I think we as countries, we as policymakers need to do what's on our hands, but also seek more support and make better use of it than we have done so far. There's one particular area that concerns me particularly as Minister of Economy, with energy in my portfolio, and I have to be perhaps a bit egoist here and say that we particularly need support in the area of decarbonization. We need support in planning decarbonization, in financing, knowing how much it will cost each of our countries, which are the technical and financial challenges that we have, and then how to actually get there. And this is something that disproportionately, I would say, affects our countries, being rather late with limited technical capacities, but also with limited financial capacities. And this is one area where I think particularly, regardless of all the other critiques, is something that we need EU support from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now it's time for the coffee break. Again, a big thank you to the speakers, to the discussant, and I hope you have a good refreshments, but as I said, I think the most important will be the personal exchange. And just a last point for the speakers. The speakers of part one and the speakers to come for part two, there is the moment of the family photo. So you are guided somewhere out there to make the family photo. So enjoy the break, and please be back in time, 10:45 sharp. Thank you.